Hello, hello, and welcome to Braving It with Tracie Renee, where stories of inspiration and motivation are going to help you discover your brave. Let's go.
Hi! Oh my gosh!
I'm so excited, you guys.
Are you really?
Yes, I'm like, the Lord told me to ask you guys to do this a while back, and I'm like, please, Lord, and you're finally here. Thank you so much. Welcome to Braving It. My name is Tracie Renee, and I have two of the most amazing women featured today with me. We have Leilani Lutali and Jaimee Fougner. Welcome, you two.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Jaimee, we just met, and I'm so thankful that you are with me today and took some time. Why don't you let us know a little bit about you? Give us a little quick bio about who you are.
Well, I am a two-time Ironman triathlete. I am a medical assistant, been in the medical field for almost 30 years, retired Air Force medic, and just a lover of Jesus Christ and an outdoors girl.
Wow. I didn't even know that about you. So you are brave to the nth degree. So kudos to you. It's amazing. Yes. Leilani, how about you? Give us a quick update on who you are.
I'm a Jesus follower, and I too like the outdoors, but I'm more along the line of an iron couch athlete. Yeah. No, all kidding aside, I'm not at this level, but God sent me this wonderful specimen of a woman to be my kidney donor. I've grown up all around the world. I'm an Air Force brat, a military brat like you were.
Yeah.
And so my experiences have just really given me a real love, a deep love for people, for God's people. And, I'm a broken woman saved by grace. And so everything that I try to do in my life is really to point back to the one who saved my soul.
Amen. Thank you. Jaimee, thank you for your service. I appreciate that. Yes, appreciate that. So Leilani, you mentioned a kidney transplant, but before we get there, can you take us back to some of your medical history leading up till now?
Sure. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes back in 1998, and I was young and thought I was invincible and my life would never end. And I have to admit, I didn't really take the greatest care of my body. If there was something I could rewind in my life, it would be to, I think, better understand where this would have led back then. And so, I have to own where I'm at with my health. I had diabetes, and then along with that came high blood pressure, and my weight fluctuated through the years up and down. And, at the end of the day, I wasn't taking care of the temple. And so I'm here today because of really ignoring, I think the things that God was trying to put in my heart all those years. And I had grown up an athlete, and, I thought, hey, this body will take care of itself. And it really doesn't. And so after all those years and really mistreating my body, I've come to this place of getting kidney disease. I had a triple bypass heart surgery back in 2016, January 2016. And I went back actually and looked at my records, and my kidney function didn't start dropping until after that heart disease. So, I think maybe through a combination of medications I was put on and still not, I was doing better in terms of taking care of my health, but I think a lot of the damage had already been done probably to my kidneys. And then with all the medications that came afterwards, last January 2020, went for really a physical. I was feeling really tired. I struggle with anemia from time to time. And so I went in, and it was at that point that my doctor said, you've got stage 4 kidney disease. And I said, well, what happened to stages 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah.
He said, nobody ever said anything to you about kidney disease. And I said, not one thing. So, fast forward to November of last year, I made a move here to Colorado to take care of my mom, who had been diagnosed with ALS. And I moved back to Colorado, which was where my parents had retired from the military. And my mom passed this past March from ALS. But the moving away from what had been my home for 29 years, really kind of uprooting myself, the stress of my mom passing and taking care of her really took a toll on my kidneys through stress.
Wow.
And so when I left Washington, I was at stage 4, but I quickly deteriorated to stage 5.
Wow. So that's where you're at right now.
I'm at stage 5 right now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And there are only 5 stages. Is that correct?
Yeah. Stage 5 is what they consider renal failure. So it's really at the 15% and below puts you in stage 5. I will say one of the things that I had done last January when I gotten the diagnosis, I was down at 23%, which is stage 4. And I started doing some reading and really reading about people of faith who had, through prayer and through discipline, had actually turned their numbers back around from being at stage 4 back to stage 1. So I started working on it for about 2.5 months, and I went from 23% up to 30%. So
wow.
the hope that I have through all of this is that our bodies are intricately made by God Almighty, and they were designed for elements of self-healing. But I think, the things that we do to our bodies today, and with all the chemicals and everything in foods, I think it's harder to put great nutrition into your body, but I know that it's possible. So I haven't lost hope in this battle.
Okay. Well, neither have we. Wow, that's a lot to go through in last year and just your whole health. And so Jaimee, this is where you stepped in. So tell us about how you became involved.
Well, Lonnie and I met in Bible study in January of this year. We had started a women's Bible study group. And the moment she walked into the house, I hadn't even spoken with her. And I looked at her and I said, we're going to be friends. We are going to be friends for life. She just exudes this spirit of light and love everywhere she goes. And I just knew right away that we were going to be friends. And so through the weeks of going through Bible study together, I learned about her kidney problems. And, at dinner one night before Bible study, I just happened to say, hey, what's your blood type? And so she tells me what her blood type is. So I was like, no way, mine's the same. I said, do you want my kidney? Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so she went through the process of seeing if she could get on the transplant list, and they put her on the transplant list. And as soon as they put her on, I was like, I'm signing up.
Wow.
And so I signed up, and we started the testing process, and all of the initial tests came back. My kidneys were functioning awesome. Like they say 80 is good, and I was at 102. So, overachiever.
That's our Iron Man thing.
And my blood type was confirmed, and they said that's a huge leap forward in being the potential donor for her. And so that was just awesome news for both of us, and confirming what we knew God had put in our hearts for us to be a match.
Yeah, that's awesome. And no apprehension. You didn't think, I don't know if I should do this.
No, not at all. Because, the Bible says in the book of John that greater love has no man than he that would lay down his life for his friend. So why would I not do that? If I have the opportunity, I got 2 good kidneys. I really only need 1. So
yes, I agree. You're going to make me want to go give mine away too. So.
kidneydonor.org or donatelife.org. They got all kinds of them.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So as exciting as that sounds, things have taken a little bit of a turn. So tell us now about the obstacles with regards to donating.
Yeah, so in the process of getting those initial test results back, my donor coordinator had called me to give me the good news that everything looked great and we were going to get set up for the final set of testing. And she said, by the way, do you happen to be vaccinated for COVID-19? And I said, actually, no. I can't be vaccinated because of my religious beliefs. I said, so I can't get the vaccine. And she said, oh, well, in that case, your journey ends here. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, we require our donors to be vaccinated. And I said, well, is that the case if the recipient isn't going to be vaccinated? And she said, oh yes, we also now require our recipients to be vaccinated. And so I just kind of was stunned and hung up the phone going, what now? And had to come over to Lonnie's and tell her, because she didn't even know that that was the case.
Yeah. So Leilani, when she broke the news to you, what happened? What'd you feel?
I think I was stunned because I knew where my numbers were, and you know, in all honesty, I was trying to avoid dialysis. My dad had passed from kidney disease 7 years ago, and he'd only spent 2 years on dialysis, and I saw what it had done to his life. Now, granted, I'm younger than he is when I got kidney disease, but I just really wasn't looking forward to the thought of dialysis. I cried. I mean, I thought, well, you know, does this mean this is it? And it took me a few days, I think, to process through and really wrap my brain around what Jaimee had told me, because it took the hospital another 5 days to get back to me. And had I not known Jaimee, if we were not friends, if it was any other donor that, you know, because of HIPAA laws and whatnot, I would not have known the status. So, you know, by virtue of us being friends, that's the only reason that I happened to know what was going on. And I'd sent a message to the hospital to say, hey, I would really appreciate it if someone would give me a call back. So it took them 5 days. And then when I got a call, interestingly enough, my original coordinator was no longer my coordinator. And instead I had a coordinator who was more versed in legalese, it felt like. So I don't know if that person was a nurse or if I was talking to maybe a legal person from the hospital. But nonetheless, we got to talking, and I start thinking the way I do, which is solutions provider. You know, there's workarounds to everything. And
Right.
And so I said, well, you know, what's available to me? What can we do? And at that point, I said, you know, could I sign a waiver? I know what the risks are. And the answer was no. I said, well, I've had COVID. I've got antibodies. It's natural immunity. How about that? No, we don't consider that. I said, well, what about testing me 48 hours, just like we've been doing for the last 18 months, right?
Yeah.
I'll get tested for COVID. You'll know that I come into surgery, I don't have COVID. No, we're not doing that either. I said, well, what about a religious exemption? And she said, nope, that only applies to employees, not to transplant patients. So, I mean, there are 3-4 options that I put out, and everything was an emphatic no. And so I got off the phone, and, you know, again, just in this place of thinking, now what? And I think it was about a week that passed, or maybe maybe a few days of some people reaching out, asking, you know, what was going on. I didn't think I was going to post anything on Facebook, but I did. And Jaimee actually had heard about a town meeting out where she lives, just outside of Colorado Springs. And, you know, you think about serendipity there. We know it's the Lord's hand, but she ended up going to that town meeting. So I'll let you tell her about what happened at that town meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, so I went to the town hall meeting for my town, and I knew that our county commissioner was going to be there, which in all likelihood meant her husband was going to be there, who is my state representative, Tim Geithner. And so I went praying that he would be there, and had typed out a letter of everything I wanted to tell him, because I didn't want to take up all of his time going through everything that was going on. And I brought a copy of the letter that the hospital had sent to Leilani as well, and a letter that she had written to her congressman. And at the end of the meeting, I just asked for a minute of his time and let him know that the hospital was denying her life-saving transplant because we wouldn't get vaccinated. And he was stunned and disgusted. And we talked for a few minutes, and he was just unbelievably heartbroken that that was happening. And he said, I will go to the mat for you guys on this. And, you know, thank God for him, because, you know, he went on a Facebook Live rant on a Tuesday, and everything blew up from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that. That was amazing. Yeah. You talk about God's timing, right? You were there.
Yeah.
He's there. Yeah. That's awesome.
And he's a man of God. I think the thing that has probably put Jaimee and I in awe the number of believers who have come around us who are people of influence. Because quite honestly, I thought, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
You know, and I wasn't even sure that I wanted my story out there at the beginning. I kept saying, I don't want to be a poster child. I just want a kidney. You know, I just
Well, guess what? You're out there. It's out there now.
But in that, we prayed about this before we even took that first step and said, Lord, what is it you would have us do in this? And, you know, everything that you want us to do, we want you to clear the path ahead of us and to open the doors that need to be opened, close the ones that we don't need to go through, you know. But more than anything, we wanted him to be glorified in this process, and that any words that come out of our mouths would be of him, and that anything that would not be of him, he would just shut our mouths up so we couldn't speak those words. And you know, I use the analogy, it was like we asked God for a drink of water and he turned the fire hose in our face. You know, it was just amazing and awe-inspiring to watch him move and to just sit back and watch it happen.
Yeah. So there's going to be people that say, it's no big deal. Just get the vaccine. It'll save your life, right? Just do it. Why don't you just do it? How would you answer that?
You know, I know, you know, Jaimee explained a little bit about where she was coming from, and I explained that I didn't want to be the poster child, but I'll tell you the one thing. For me, someone getting the shot or not getting the shot, it's not a matter of salvation. But for me, there were two things. First, my faith, and secondly, my own individual health issues. You know, medicine isn't meant to be a one size fits all, yet we're kind of moving in that direction, it feels. And, you know, to say that one treatment works for one person or one vaccine or whatever it is works for one person is really ludicrous. And, you know, Jaimee brought this example up at one point. If I had cancer, I would be given the option to be able to choose chemo, natural alternative medicine, or, you know, choose quality of life and have whatever months I had left. Mm-hmm. And so it was coming down to this matter of choice as I thought about freedom. You know, the first thing I think of is freedom in Christ. So, you know, when people were saying, it's just a shot, get it. You know, don't you want to live? And we think God has got more for you. I do believe that God has more for me. I also believe that God has numbered my days, not man. And I believe that this is less about that shot and more about the freedoms that I'm starting to feel are being slowly eroded away, or maybe more quickly than I ever thought are being eroded away. And so as I prayed and I cried out to God, I mean, I honestly, it wasn't like it was clear cut. And I said, I don't want to be the poster child. He, through three other people, came back to me with, for such a time as this is your Esther moment.
Wow.
And, you know, I've taught Bible study for a long time. And, you know, the one thing I can't ever do is turn away from the word. And the minute that the truth is there to put a light on where you are in your life, you have one of two choices as well. You either obey or you don't obey. And for me, this was a matter of obedience. And I realized that what God was saying to me, that this is bigger than me. We have discovered quickly there are families out there with children who are being yanked off the transplant list because they refuse to get the vaccine for their kids. There are young men and women in their early 20s. There are mothers of families and grandmothers with the same convictions who are being removed from the list. And I knew that we needed to be okay to be out front to bring a light to this.
Well, I am so glad you are. And I'm so proud of you both. This is amazing. I had another question about the people that might not agree. So I made the mistake, and if you guys haven't done it yet, don't do it. I made the mistake of reading some of the comments under. Okay, you with me?
I'm with you.
The comments.
Oh, mercy. I thought, well, and most of them were encouraging and supportive. However, there are the ones that were very angry and full of hate towards you, and I'm assuming they don't even know you.
Right.
It bothered me. It bothered me
early on that in response to those we know that that comes from a place of hurt and brokenness in people's lives, and whatever's happened in their past, you know, it affects, you know, their you know, reactions to things, and it's not even us, because they don't even know us. It's just an opinion that they've had formed from some hurts in their past. And so, you know, we've just decided that we're going to pray for those people, and you know, just speak life into them, because it's not an us against them situation here. You know, we're not anti-vax. You know, I get the flu shot every year. I've had my childhood vaccines. You know, it's just this particular vaccine we have questions and hesitations about, and it really should come down to your choice and what you do medically with your body. And if somebody has chosen to be vaccinated, great, they had that choice. We just want the choice to not be vaccinated and still have life-saving surgery.
Yes.
I think for me, you know, I'm pretty happy-go-lucky. I love to encourage people, so I can't imagine ever using my words to tear someone down, even if I vehemently disagreed with whatever decision they would make. It's just not who I am. So I think getting those words back, this island girl here is a little bit like, whoa, you know, people telling me I should crawl in a hole and die. I didn't deserve to breathe the air around me. And, but I knew early on that there would be opposition, and I knew where that was coming from, which is the enemy of our souls. And not necessarily people, you know. And so, as Jaimee said, we agreed that we would not be an inflammatory in our remarks. I'm not mad at doctors and nurses. I mean, everybody's had to make some sort of decision here of this past month, especially. You know, I'm willing to honor other people's choices, but I realized that this had very little to do with me, and that there's a battle. There's a spiritual battle going on in this nation, and our job is to be light bearers, to bring salt, to make people thirsty for who we have a relationship with. And I just felt like I'm going to stop reading comments, you know, really even the good and the bad, and quite frankly, I also locked down my social media. You know, I just thought I don't need to subject myself to the comments. I know that they're out there. I know they're coming. People have made me aware, but I want to continue to show the love of Jesus and the grace of Jesus. So it's everybody's entitled to their opinion, but this won't change my mind about the stand that I've taken.
Wow, that's amazing, you guys. And I kind of thought you'd answer that way. Yeah, I kind of thought you'd answer that way. I'm so amazingly proud of you guys, and just blessed to know you. And I'm going to move on now. I'm going to read a quote, Leilani, that you put on your Facebook post, the one that you weren't sure you were going to put out, and you ended up doing.
Oh boy.
No, because when I read this, because I didn't know. And when I read it for the first time, it hit me, just because I've known you for so long and I love you dearly. So you say, and quote, "So where does this leave me? Well, if I'm unable to have any treatment, dialysis, or the transplant, I will 100% die within the next few months if God decides not to heal me supernaturally." Speak to that.
You know, it's kind of one of those moments you don't know what you're going to do when you're faced really with your own mortality. I know where I'm going, but you know, we see but dimly now, right? And as I thought about where I was at, if God chooses not to heal me here, if I don't get a transplant, if you know, dialysis is really kind of a stopgap measure, my life could very well, you know, come to an end pretty quickly. And I think for me, you know, it's a moment of introspection of where it's kind of funny. I need to back up by about a week, because I remembered as I was thinking about our brothers and sisters in Afghanistan, and as we were going out to rescue them, really from the Taliban, and for certain that the things that they would face, I remember having this conversation with God about who am I? You know, what's my faith made of? And I always laugh because I have these moments where I pray these prayers where I need to start really thinking about what I'm saying to God, because I didn't realize the next week he would show me who I was. And I think you know who you are until you're in the midst of adversity, till you're in the midst of a decision that could affect your life. And I got to tell you, I mean, it wasn't like I was some sort of superhero with this amazing amount of courage, bravery. I mean, I thought about that. You know, I know where I'm going, but I thought, gosh, I kind of like to live a few more years. There's still things I think I could do. Through prayer, through being in his word, through friends like Jaimee, people like you really around the world who have bolstered me through prayer. It's just made me realize how important prayer is. It's also made me realize that if you'll take the step, that's the whole thing about faith, is you can't see a lot of the outcomes. But if you'll take the step, the one thing I know is that God meets you in that first step. Mm-hmm. Just like Abraham was asked to sacrifice his son, and he knew if he did indeed kill his son, he knew whatever the case was, that God was going to honor really this covenant, you know, that he was making with Abraham. And I knew that if I stepped out, just that one step, that God would answer. I didn't know how he would answer, but I knew he would answer. And I still don't know what the outcome will be, but I think it was taking that step in faith that built more courage. My courage wasn't there. I had to walk first.
Yes.
I think about the parting of the Red Sea. I think about Joshua stepping his foot into the water. He put his foot in the water first, then the water parted. And I think sometimes we think that, you know, God will clear the path for sure and make it really well known before we get to that decision. But our faith is built in the times where we don't know what the outcome is, but we do know who our God is. Mm-hmm. And I had to trust that my God was my covenant God who had made a number of promises. And I had to lean on those promises in the absence of evidence of what he was going to do.
Even when your life depends on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
So it wasn't superhero courage. I had to take that first step. And I will tell you, I was scared.
Yeah, I imagine you were. I always say brave begets brave.
Amen.
One step of bravery leads to more and more courage when you realize I did it, right? I can do this.
Yes.
And then of course you have people around you, you know.
Absolutely.
Like so Jaimee, we have people listening here and they're thinking there's no way. There's no way if I was in that situation, I could do this. What would you say to those people who just want to take a small step of courage to be brave?
Yeah, I would say take that step. You know, God has not given us a spirit of fear or timidity. And so if we, you know, trust God and do right, and as my brother would say, don't suck. We can do anything, you know, and all things are possible through Christ who gives us the strength in all. And so, you know, I trust God. I try to do the right thing. And I would just encourage them to just take that small step of faith and pray before you take that step, because we don't take steps and move forward without God going there first. Yep. We want him there first. We want him to clear the path. Yeah. We want to make sure that he is there to open the doors for us. We do not want to run ahead of our God and run out of his protection. And so I just say, you know, pray about it, take that step and trust God, because he is a God of promises and a God who keeps his promises. He's a God of love, and everything he does for us is out of his love for us. And we underestimate the love and mercy and grace that he has for us in our lives.
Wow. I need to grab a power cord before we
yeah, we're about to die.
Hold on.
Grab your cord because you're going to run out of battery.
getting the low battery signal that says it's going to shut us off.
Oh, no, we can't have that. While she's grabbing the cord, Jaimee, what next? People are listening, going, how can we help? What can we do? Is there anything people can do?
Absolutely. For us, prayer. There is a lot of prayer coming through in this country, and there are a lot of people taking courageous steps, through these mandates. We've seen kind of an explosion happening really in the last couple of weeks since we've started with this process. And, I would say the number one thing is we need people to pray. And the other thing is that we need people to be courageous and be brave and stand up and stand on the firm foundation of faith that we have. And whether you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, it's not us against them. It's not us against each other. We should be standing as brothers and sisters of Christ, lifting each other up and supporting each other. I want people to go to hospitals and have candlelight vigils and be praying for those doctors and nurses that are in these impossible situations that maybe go against their own morals and beliefs, but they've been backed into a corner and forced to do something that they maybe don't agree with. And some that have had to leave careers that they've had for 20, 30 years because they took a stand. And, I think we should be praying for those people, praying for the politics and the decision makers in these businesses, that the veil would be lifted from their face and that their eyes would be open, and that compassion is restored to our healthcare system and to each other, really, as brothers and sisters. We've kind of lost some of our humanity and compassion, I think, in the last 18 months or so.
Yeah, it's, I keep saying in interviews, it's not a Republican versus Democrat, liberal versus conservative. This is affecting people of all walks of life. And it's going to take courage. It's going to take people who are willing to step out and on behalf of one another, to stand in the gap for each other. There's persecution going on. There's people losing jobs, livelihoods, their health is being impacted by this. And, Jaimee and I, the one thing that we've kind of the approach we've taken on this, I refuse to call politicians names. They are made in the image of God, people.
Yes, they are.
And we do not fight against flesh and blood, but against the principalities of the air. And if we keep forgetting that piece, we're going to be fighting the wrong battle. And our God goes before us. We put on the armor of God every day, especially in a situation like this. And let's not leave anybody behind. And that includes non-believers. That includes people who want freedom. And, there's a testimony to be had here by a number of people. But if we don't stand together, if we're fearful, God's got us. That's what I know. It may not be in the way I think he should have me, but he's got me. And, I prayed a long time ago. I said, God, I want to live a life of adventure. And, well, my life hasn't been boring, that's for sure.
That's right.
But this is the life that is possible through Christ Jesus. And so let's come along, any person who wants to stand with us, regardless of ideologies, regardless of whatever their belief system is, let's stand together and stop beating the tar out of each other. This fight is in the spiritual realm.
That's right. And we know who the victor is.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
God wins.
That's right. Well, you guys are you're so strong, you're so wise, and it has been a pleasure having you here. I'm going to have some information below this video or the podcast, whichever one somebody listens to, so they can get a hold of you. I will put my email, and so people can reach out and get a hold of you if they need to. But prayer and standing up and being brave is what you're asking people to do. Yes.
Absolutely. Like, you know what? Now's the time to lean into God. As if you don't have him, if you don't trust him, this is going to be even tougher on people than they even realize.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for being here today. I appreciate your time. It's been hard to connect, but we finally did.
I know.
Yes.
And I'm so thankful that you've got this platform, and we're praying over you and what God's doing through you through this. I'm amazed by the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Well, I love you both and wish you well. And I'm just going to say, you got to keep me posted what's going on. Okay.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I love you. I'm going to end on something that you said also in that Facebook post, Leilani. Okay. Or end on this. Okay. So I know where my eternal home is, and it's not this world. I pray that when my time on this beautiful planet is done, I love people well with the love of Jesus. And with that, I say goodbye. I love you both.
Love you too.
Yeah, me too.